Year 10s, welcome to your next scaffold for the term. It is your scaffold for action plan. So, first and foremost, I need to tell you that good work for getting this far. Obviously, there's a lot of templates and a lot of work that you've done. You're getting close towards the end where we're starting to write now, so please keep that in mind. Second thing is that this is a significant template for your assessment. So your whole plan for action section of your assessment task is pretty much based off this scaffold. So the more information and the more detail you put in here, the less work you'll have to do when you're writing that section of your task. So in this section, what you need to be doing is you need to take one of the resources from the previous week's work, so your analysis section that you did with those 7 resources, you are taking one of those resources and you are applying it to this table, because then you are going to apply it to yourself for about a week long to see how you go with it. Alright, so you need to look back at that template and pick which resource that you want to use in this template. Alright, now I'm going to go through the template, so bear with me. There's a lot of information. I've put a lot of detail into my examples, so there's going to be a lot of me talking. I apologise, and this might be a little bit of a long one. Alright, so if we look up the top here, we have your first column there. You need to identify the barriers and identify the determinants of health from your River of Life scaffold and all the other primary data scaffold that we did in about week 1, week 2. Alright, these barriers and determinants of health are overarching, and they will be found throughout most of your scaffolds that you've done, but mainly you'll find them in your River of Life template that you did in week 2 or 3. So please use that to help you. So now if we scroll down and look at mine, we'll just make it a bit bigger for you so you guys can see that. I've said that from my River of Life template, there's been a lot of stress from my work and my workload. Obviously, due to all this online learning, it's very different. So that's a socio-economic characteristic and a stress health behaviour. So what I've done in my example is, to start with, I've got my barrier and then I add my determinant of health. So going back to that example, so I'm saying my barrier, or a barrier to me at the moment and my mental health, is that I've got stress from my workload or my work. And so that, when we look at it in terms of the determinants of health table that we looked at in term 1, that's on your OneNote, that actually falls under the socio-economic characteristics column, and stress, then obviously the subsection in there is the stress/health behaviours. Alright. Next one, moving on, is still having to work in this uncertain time. So that is obviously talking about employment, and that again falls under the same determinants of health as the last one, so socio-economic and your stress health behaviour characteristics. And then my other barrier would be poor sleep, and then also then therefore that falls under health barriers or the determinants of health. Alright, moving down that example, I'm also collating which ones are the overarching determinants of health, just to make it a little bit easier as I transfer over and write my assessment. So obviously you can see there, socioeconomic characteristics and health behaviours are my 2 overarching determinants of health, which were found from my barriers, which are stress and generally employment. Alright, now that we're moving over to our second column here, this is where you are putting your resource that you found from the previous scaffold here. So from my 7, I went through and I picked one, and this is the resource that I'm going to attempt to implement for my plan for action. So the resource that I am going to be looking at for the week is the meditation app called Calm. So that's all you need to do in that column, is just tell me which application, which online resource, which resource you are using for the week minimum, and that is it. Alright, moving across, you're going to tell me who is going to participate, when and how you are going to use this resource. So this is just giving me some information and some background on when, where and how you're going to use it, so that I can hopefully help you guys track Your use of these resources help you remember, but also provide some support where I can. Alright, so I said for mine that it was going to be who, myself, is going to use this app because they're obviously my barriers and determinants of health. I said when I was going to use this app every day before I go to bed, as obviously I lay in bed and look at my phone, so the phone app made it a little bit easier to do before bed. And then I said how I'm going to download this application onto my phone and use it before bed. I'm also going to set a reminder in my phone to make sure that I actually do the app every night before bed, because sometimes obviously you get tired and you forget things, which we all do, so just putting a little reminder in there will help me. Alright, super simple with that column. I just need who, when and how, just to give me a little bit of background information. Moving across to our why, this is starting to get a little bit more important, obviously. So the why column is, what I want you guys to do here is, why are you implementing this resource? Now, the significant part of this question is here. You need to make sure that you are connecting to the Ottawa Charter action area of developing personal skills, which is found from your assessment. So I'm helping you already with your assessment. So you need to connect to the action area of developing personal skills. And then you also need to explain how it fixes, or how it helps fix, your barriers that you identified in your first column, but even earlier in your River of Life template. Okay, so just to reiterate, you are telling me why you are going to implement this resource, and you're going to connect that back to the Ottawa Charter action area of developing personal skills, which is on your assessment, so it'll be a little tick if you do this now, and then you are going to explain how it helps fix or helps rectify the barriers that are constantly being affecting you at the moment for the past month or so. Now, if we read my answer here, I said, why I am implementing this resource is to help adjust my identified barriers, which are stress and employment. The Calm app helps provide myself with the tools to educate myself on relaxing my body, enhance my mood, and reduce my stress levels. This is done by guiding me through meditation techniques with relaxation music and bedtime stories. So I have spoken about my barriers, because I've told you that stress and employment were my barriers. I have told you what the app does. So I've told you about the relaxation music, bedtime stories, and it's guiding me through meditation techniques. Now, the significant part of this statement is how I've connected it to the developing personal skills of the Ottawa Charter. Now, as we are all aware, developing personal skills of the Ottawa Charter is all about educating the individual. So this app for me is educating myself, so this section here, educating myself on relaxing my body, enhancing my mood, and reducing my stress levels. So this app is providing myself with education, so it's developing my own personal skills to make sure that I can therefore improve my mental health in the future. Also, it connects down here when it's telling me about guiding me through meditation techniques. The guiding me through is again another word for educating. So that is how I'm connecting to my Ottawa Charter, and then I've connected to my barriers earlier when I've stated that stress and employment were an issue. Alright, now lastly, moving across, these two sections are actually connected. As you can see, I've just broken it down now. And so for the last column here, you are just finding secondary data, so a resource, a website, a book, a journal article that helps what you have said in this column here. So you need to find secondary data to explain how you will be developing your personal skills, and you also need to find secondary data to help explain how your resource will fix the identified barriers. So if we look at my example, so the top one here, this is my secondary data for my identified barriers. I have found that meditation is a simple technique if practiced for as few as 10 minutes each day, can help you control stress, decrease anxiety, improve cardiovascular health, and achieve a greater capacity for relaxation. And then I've put in brackets here my in-text reference. Okay, now let's go back. So I'm saying that this is a resource that connects to my identified barriers. It also has to connect to the resource, so the CALM app that I'm using. So through this, I've said that stress and employment are a bit of an issue for me, and the CALM app is about meditation. So this needs to talk about meditation, stress, and employment pretty much. So when we read it again, meditation is a simple technique that, if practiced for as few as 10 minutes each day, can help you control stress, decrease anxiety, improve cardiovascular health, and achieve a greater capacity for relaxation. So in that sentence, I have talked about meditation, so that's a tick. I've talked about the app, and meditation tells me that it can help reduce my stress, which, if we go back earlier, across in the first column, was an identified barrier. So that is a good secondary data resource. Now, secondly, my next one, this resource now needs to obviously connect to the Ottawa Charter and developing personal skills. So as we just spoke about in the previous column, developing personal skills is about educating individuals. So this resource, this secondary data that I find, needs to talk about meditation and how educating people on meditation could help with my barriers. Okay, let's read it. Training our bodies on a daily basis to achieve this state of relaxation can lead to enhanced mood, lower blood pressure, improved digestion, and a reduction of everyday stress. So, training is another form or another word of talking about educating on a daily basis. So the same, so it connects to the data up here that says if you did it for 10 minutes a day, can improve all of these things, and right down the bottom it says stress. So I've connected my barrier to the Ottawa Charter's developing personal area to my app. So that is a fantastic resource. Reminder, as you can see in both, in-text reference is done, and I also have the websites for later when I need to do some bibliographing at the end of my assessment. Alright, there is a lot of work that needs to be put into this template, guys. But if you put the work in yourselves, you will find this significantly easier for when you go to write your plan for action. Some of this can be done prior to you guys even doing the app. Some of it you might have to wait. So these middle columns, you might have to wait until you actually have used the app a couple of times to know exactly how you're going to use it effectively. But what you need to do is you need to develop this. You need to use the app for a minimum of 7 days. Minimum of 7 days, so that you can get some good data out of the app. And then you are going to send all of this through to myself. So this needs to be done in the week. Send it on through. If you do this effectively, you will be putting yourself at a significant advantage for when you go and write your plan for action at the end of next week. Alright, reminder. This is a significant part of your plan for action. I cannot stress this enough. So please make sure you're putting the time and effort into it. As you can see by my example, it's pretty in-depth. So the more in-depth you go, the easier it'll be later on. Good luck. Again, like usual, I'm here for emails if you need me.